Hi everyone, it's Kyra here from Thermo-lish. I'm going to show you how to make some hot cross buns today, but we're going to use a recipe that I'm really enjoying that's become our new favourite from the recipe community. So what I want to teach you firstly is how to actually upload this onto your Cookidoo. So if you're not sure how to do it. So this is the recipe that we're going to use. It's called Best Hot Cross Buns hyphen light and fluffy. So that's on the recipe community, and all I need to do is just press add to Cookidoo, and then it's going to ask me to confirm that I want to add that to my Cookidoo library. So I'm just doing that right now, and then what you can do is you can actually adjust the recipes or edit them. That goes the same for things like Cookidoo recipes. If you find something you really like but you tweak it a little to make it your own, you can actually go in and edit it. That's all about what Cookidoo 2.0 is. So now when I go onto my TM6 screen, unfortunately the TM5s can't do this just yet, so you'll actually have to still use your iPad or your iPhone or whatever device you use to read your recipes off. But you can go into My Recipes and then go into Created Recipes, and you'll find that the recipes that you've uploaded or edited from Cookidoo will be found in there. So here's our Best Hot Cross Buns, light and fluffy, on there all ready to go. So it looks a little different when you go onto the screen. So you can look at it this way, or you can actually scroll down and see the recipe like you would in a cookbook, or you can just press start cooking. So this is how I like to do it. So this first page is just telling me that I've actually updated this recipe. Now I do need to thank the person that actually created this recipe. Bethy N is her her username on recipe community. So thank you, Bethy N. So we're going to press the first step, and you need to read the screen. So we're actually going to use not fresh yeast, but the yeast that we keep in the fridge that's dry. So what I'm going to do now is show you how this all works. I'm going to bring the camera up just a little bit closer so perhaps you can see the screen a little. Hopefully you can see the screen a little bit. All right, so it says here, measure your flour, sugar, salt, cinnamon, mixed spice and butter into the TM bowl and mix for 5 seconds, speed 8, and then set aside. So what I'm going to do is, there's just down here is our little mode. So I'm just going to hit our scales, and it's going to come up with all the ingredients and their quantities. So it asks for our baker's flour, our sugar, our salt, our cinnamon, our mixed spice and our butter. So I'll just get that. So we're popping in our 620 grams of baker's flour, 50 grams of sugar, whether that's raw sugar or white sugar, up to you. One and a half teaspoons of salt, 1.5 teaspoons of cinnamon, and 1.5 teaspoons of mixed spice. $60 grams of unsalted butter. We're going to pop the lid on and mix it 5 seconds, speed 8. Once that's done, we're going to pop this aside and we'll use it later to mix with our wet ingredients. This is where having a second bowl comes in handy, because we can pop on the new bowl and get prepared to pop in our milk. That's 380 grams of your choice of milk, and we're going to heat it for 2.5 minutes, 37 degrees on speed 1. Then we'll add our 10 grams or 15 grams of dried yeast and give that a mix for 10 to 15 seconds on speed 2 to 3. And then I'm going to use my timer on our TM6 to set the time and let it rest for a good 10 to 15 minutes for it to become frothy. So we've added our yeast, we've let it set, we've allowed it to go frothy. So it usually takes about 10 minutes, but it could take a little bit longer, and you can see all the froth on the top there. Once that's done, we're going to crack an egg into the wet mixture, and then we're going to add our dry ingredients with our second bowl, or if you put it in a different bowl, that's fine. Just we're going to add that now, and then we're going to mix it up for 10 to 15 seconds on speed 7, or at least until all the ingredients are all combined together. Now this is all on the recipe, so you'll be able to see that, and I'll provide that in the link with the video. I'm just scraping down the sides just to make sure that all that mixes down in the bowl combined. And then we're going to knead this dough together for about 3 minutes. So we've popped the lid on, popped the MC in or measuring cup. And then what I'm doing is weighing the sultanas or the raisins or the mixed fruit, whatever you're using, just into the top of the bowl and in the MC. And in an extra minute of kneading that we will set, we will take the measuring cup out and allow those sultanas or raisins and the mixed fruit to actually fall as it's kneading into the bowl. So you can see the sultanas are slowly going in, so they're incorporating into that dough quite slowly, so it's kind of a little bit even. So that's actually a really good tip as to putting it through, or you could hand knead it for 4 minutes. So now we're actually getting prepared to take the dough back out of our bowl. So I'm going to give the blade on the bottom a bit of a twist to help it come out, but it won't all come out. The dough is actually a little sticky, so we want to scrape it down the sides and put it back onto our base, and just go to our home screen and set it for a few minutes. Oh yes, definitely use extra flour because it is so sticky, to keep it off your hands and to make sure that it doesn't stick to your hands and make a big mess. Make sure your hands are well floured. So I'm back again, scraping the bowl down as much as I can, but there's still some caught on the blades. So I'm going to pop my lid on, the measuring cup in, and then spin it off for a couple of seconds at about speed 6 or 7. And that will actually spin that out to the side so I can get my spatula around and remove that excess dough from the bowl. Then what I'm going to do is pop a litre of water in my Thermomix bowl, after obviously bringing that dough all together into a nice pretty bowl. And I'm wrapping it up in my Thermomat. I'm going to pop the water in. Don't you love that glider board? I can just swing that around. Put in a litre of water, and then I'm going to go into my fermentation mode. In the modes of cooking is a fermentation mode. We're going to change it back to an hour. Pop out. Now I just want to talk to you a little bit about what I've just done. So I've popped it on the fermentation mode on the TM6. If you didn't have a TM6, what I want you to do is get out your trusty thermo servo if you've got one, and pop some boiling water into the thermo server. Then this will perfectly fit over the top here. So this is how we're going to prove our dough, regardless of whether it's for bread rolls, for bread, for any types of dough. When it's a not so great day, you want to be able to get that perfect proving happening. So definitely give this a go. In your TM6, you're going to put it on the fermenting mode for just an hour. Sometimes it's just enough for half an hour, but with this I've got it set for an hour, so I can go away and know that when I come back it's going to be done perfectly, and it'll prove really, 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 really well. So fermentation mode will keep that dough nice and moist. I don't worry about rinsing out my bowl or anything like that just yet, not until later on. But if you don't have that, if you don't have a thermo server, another great way is to pop it onto a heat pad, like, you know, your microwave heat pads, and pop it in the microwave in either in a glass or ceramic bowl, and it's sitting on top of the heat pad, and then leave it in the microwave so it's in that confined space, and it will prove really, really well as well. So they're just some of the tips. If it's a lovely and warm day, by all means just keep it in your thermomat, on your bench, somewhere warm where maybe some sunlight can get to it. That will help the proving process. But this is winter, cool day, not so flash weather, and it will prove your dough perfectly every single time. So our dough has been on fermentation mode for an hour, and it's really, really proved. So it's grown quite a lot, so much it's snuck all out the side, so it's quite messy. So I'm going to need to use extra flour to help me unstick all this from the Thermomat, as well as the the Varoma bowl. So here we go. We're just cleaning it all up. With the extra bit of flour, it's really not going to hurt the actual bread rolls at all, but it's going to help me to clean it up much quicker and much faster without getting too much mess on my hands. So that little bit of extra flour is not going to hurt at all. So I'm actually bringing that back into another ball after it's been proven. Got the extra bit out of the Varoma and just bringing that all together in a little kneading motion. Now I'm placing a clean bowl back onto the base of the Thermomix and popping our dough back into it, because we're going to knead it one more time. So pop the lid on, and we're going to knead it for another 3 minutes on dough mode, or you can do it with your hands for 4 minutes if that's what you like to do. We also need at this point to preheat our oven to 200 degrees, and we're once again going to take that dough out of our bowl. We're giving that twist motion of the blades to get as much of it out as possible. As you can see, it's still quite sticky dough, and we're going to use the blade, flicking it off the blade without putting it on speed 6 or 7 for a couple of seconds, just to flick that excess dough off the blade to make it easier for me to clean the bowl out. Again, make sure your hands are well floured. There we go, and we're just going to scrape that out. I'm just bringing that dough back together into a nice ball, and then we're going to weigh it so I know exactly how much dough I've got, and then I'm going to divide that by 16 or by 20 depending on what size rolls you want, hot cross buns you want, I should say. And I'm using my dough or bowl scraper as a dough cutter. Again, don't you love that glider board? It's so much easier just to push that around my bench and not damage my scale. So we're just weighing them so that we've got even sizes of our hot cross buns. And I'm pinching the corners and bringing it into the center, and then I'll roll it in my hand into a ball. So we get these nice shaped balls, and all the folded in sections are all underneath. So it looks really neat on the top, and you've got all the pinched in pieces at the base of the hot cross bun. And I'm popping them onto my tray, evenly spaced, fairly close together, so that they can prove again together and double in size. Well, in this case, it will fill the tray. As you can see there is a bit of gap there. And we'll put them aside. So I'm setting my timer again on my TM6 to remind me to come and check them in half an hour. Okay, so we're getting there. We're getting ready to make the paste that goes and makes the crosses. So what I'm going to do is pop in my 90 grams of baker's flour or plain flour, my water, my salt, my olive oil, and my sugar. So I'll just do that. And then we're going to pop it into a Ziploc bag. And when we go to pop the crosses off, we will actually cut the corner off and use that like as a disposable piping bag. You could, of course, use a piping bag, but I'm just going to use this today. So I'll show you what the paste looks like. So we're just going to empty that now into our bag. Ready for popping onto our fun and games doing this, isn't it? Alright. It's fun and games getting this out, but it is totally worth it in the end. And then I will just, this is like glue, so you want to put it on dough function if you're using your TM6 to give it a wash. So I'm just covering the blades with water. Squirt, and then I'm going to pop the lid on, get out of this and go across to our pre-clean mode and pop it on dough mode and let it clean. Okay, so I'm just going to get this, just snip the little end off, and I'm going to start by just literally going down the rows. As you can see, these have probably not quite double in size, but they've certainly increased in size and taken up the whole tray. So I didn't quite get 16, but that's okay. Whoa. I've got 15, good size. And now we're just going to go across. Beautiful, how good's that? Nice and easy. Then we're going to pop these in the oven for about 12 to 15 minutes, and they will be at about 200 degrees, I might add, and they will be delicious. Okay, and then we'll make the syrup, sugar syrup to go over the top, and we'll paint that on with a pastry brush as soon as they come out of the oven. There we go. I can get rid of that now because they're all done. And then we have it. Pop them in the oven, we'll see how they turn out. I actually put them in the oven at 200 degrees for 20 minutes. So we're popping in our 100 grams, or 2 tablespoons of water, so about 40 or 44, that'll do. And 2 tablespoons of sugar, so that's again about 40 roughly. Beauty. And whoops, what are we doing it on? 2 minutes, 100 degrees, speed 4. So we'll pop our lid on. Okay, so the sugar and water has been cooked off, and I've just popped it into this little coffee cup just to keep it warm just while these were in the oven. And now I'm just going to paint this all over our hot cross buns. As you can see, they're lovely and big. You could make this into 20 easily, this recipe. It's a great recipe, and it's good that it's such a big recipe that you can make some for you and then some to give away. So I'm just popping this quite liberally all over our hot cross buns, and they'll be enjoyed by family members of mine tomorrow, I'm sure. So if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to ask. Sorry, I've got my dinner on. We're actually cooking salmon in here right now. But yes, if you have any questions, please don't hesitate. I'd love to be able to help you get the best quality hot cross buns on your table this Easter. Sorry, it's not Christmas, it's Easter. And to all of my friends, families, customers, colleagues, I wish you all a happy Easter, and I'm going to go and enjoy one of these soon. All right. Happy Thermomixing, everyone. I hope you've learned some tips this week. See you next week. Bye for now. Mwah.